Your job as a business, whether you're selling a stick of candy to a little child or you're selling a car over the phone, all sorts of sales that occur, billions of sales every single day. And the key that you have to figure out is you have to basically reverse engineer how that buyer likes to buy.
Hey, it is time for the Business Builder Throwdown. D. Scott Smith here, motivational listener. Matt from Nova Scotia and Holly Jean Jackson from Raleigh. But we have a special guest, Christopher Filipiak.
So my name is Christopher Filipiak. I help founders and CEOs build sales teams and sales systems. I'm on a mission to make sales synonymous with love, meaning sales without fear, worry, or doubt, when interacting with two of the most dangerous things in the world, which is strangers and money.
We really want to talk about sales. Today, Matt is going to be taking the side of digital sales, and Holly's going to be making sales calls.
We grow up with so many stories around money, root of all evil, money doesn't grow on trees. We grow up with stories around strangers. Oh, don't talk to that person. Don't do this. And then, we never really learn helping your clients and profitably making sales. And that's the key of it. And it all started to shift for me when I recognized that sales is not about getting anything from anyone. It's really about giving. And you're there to help someone create a transformation in their life. And my mentor said to me that, and this is kind of like the light bulb moment, sales isn't something you do to someone. Sales is something that you do for someone. People can't even figure out how to split up the check at a dinner table, right? Like, how are you going to do $100,000 deals for your agency when you can't even talk about a couple bucks for dinner or whatever?
Matt, tell us about digital sales.
24-hour availability. There is no wait to go and buy something on the internet. You can educate yourself online. You definitely want to ensure that you have information that your customers need to make a decision. I think if you asked somebody 20 years ago if they would buy a car on the internet, they would tell you you were crazy. But it happens every day now.
So, Holly, what do you have to answer to this? Tell us about sales calls. Matt put out some pretty solid advice there.
So, the examples he's sharing, if you're a large company and you have already a lot of social credibility and you sell a product, then sure, digital sales is great. But if you're a smaller scale business, and in particular, if you're in the service business, sales calls make a lot of sense. I wouldn't hire somebody to be my coach without having a call with them first, or even do consulting services for my business. Just like as a business owner, until you have that sales call, you don't know if you have the right chemistry with that client. And when you're doing these sales calls, you shouldn't be scaling and hiring a sales team until you have enough confidence in your product. You believe in that. And like Chris was alluding to, you're starting to work through your own stuff around money. So there's a lot of transformational elements and growing pains that new business owners and people in the service industry experience when they go through the process of doing these sales calls.
So give us your perspective.
The problem with 90 to 99% of the sales books out there is that they are written to get people to buy from you, right? And to force someone through manipulation and tactics. And the timing does really matter. So this is going to be a really difficult throwdown because it really comes down to, like Holly was indicating, what you're selling. Like, you're not going to sell, $10,000, $100,000, multi-million-dollar consulting, coaching, service engagements with an add to cart. But for smaller transactional sales, I think Matt's, hits the nail on the head too, right? Like where all the information is out there, where the pricing's really figured out and everything's super dialed in. Like it's a nice advantage to the client or the customer to provide that service. But I would say that the majority of sales requires some type of conversation at some point to happen.
And I think this is what people are afraid of, is they don't want to go face to face with a salesperson because they feel like they're going to be manipulated, as Christopher was saying. So Holly, give us a response to that. And then Matt, let's go right to you when Holly's finished.
Yeah, I was actually interviewed, I think a year and a half ago, doing this article with Mitch Russo, I believe, and it was how to do sales without being salesy. And we all think of, like we were talking before we started the show, the car salesman, and like, yeah, they're great at that, but they're also, we have like this negative connotation of like that sleazy, schemy feel. And so when I'm coaching clients on selling and the sales process and their relationship to money, it's really making sure when they're having these conversations that they feel 100% confident that they can help that client in the service that they're providing. And if not, they can refer to somebody else in their network so that they're still adding value to that person. If the timing is wrong, great. Hey, I have this other class that you can check out, or here's a free resource you can use, and I'm here when you are ready. So as Chris was indicating, it's adding value. And as we know with the sales process, sometimes it takes a few years where somebody's on your email list, you've built a relationship, and then they come back when the timing is right. And to me, that's doing the sales process without being sleazy. But for my second point for round two, it's also kind of like Chris was indicating, you can't really do the high dollar negotiations unless you have a phone call. So if I'm landing a stage that's significant where I'm going to have a high speaking fee and I want to negotiate being able to sell from stage, that's high dollar. That's going to be on the phone. That's building a relationship with the meeting planner, showing how I'm going to be a rock star, make them look amazing to their audience. Or if it's going to be a consulting agreement with a monthly retainer, that's not something we're going to just figure out online. That's something we're going to build together. We're going to negotiate, and I'm going to make sure and certain that I'm going to deliver on that, because there's nothing worse than a negative review online, especially when you're in your earlier days of the business. So to me, the whole point of sales is building a deeper relationship with that potential client and adding tremendous value.
When we're talking about maybe you are a health and wellness business and you're trying to move someone to take action, to come into your business, to book an appointment, a lot of times what you're trying to do is build trust and educate that potential client without having to speak to them, because there's a lot of them and there's not very many of you. And you need to be using your time doing two things. Okay. Now, if you own a health and wellness business, I want you to listen really, really closely, because Holly and I have talked about this a lot. Scott and I have talked about it. Christopher, I'm sure you've run into it. There is two things you should be doing if you have a health and wellness business. Number one is doing whatever that work you have to do that makes you money. So if you're a chiropractor, you're a dentist, you're a doctor, whatever it is, you got to do your dentisting, you got to do your doctoring. It's got to be done, right? Number two is working on your business. There is nothing else that you should be doing, right? Those are the only two things that you should be doing. So you do have to know how to sell to a point, because you have to get started. But that information that you're using can be on your website. It could be written down. It could be videos. It could be through your social channels. It could be, speaking events or networking events. All of those things can be done to build trust. And I think all of us have some musical background here. They didn't do one take of the song, right? They practiced. They wrote the song. They edited the song. They rewrote the song. They redid the tracks. They retried it. They sang it 15 different ways, picked the best one. I think that a digital automated system is the only way to replicate yourself to enough clients to be able to get the job done.
So, Christopher, this goes back to part of what you said at the beginning, that you have to know that you can help that person and that you're just matching them up with a solution. And Holly echoed that as well. So mindset is a big issue, but there's this inflection point between products that are sold for tens or maybe hundreds of dollars to products that would be considered high value, high ticket, maybe in the thousands, tens of thousands. How do you address that with these founders, with these folks that you're working with?
The thing that you have to realize, and this is your job as a business, whether you're selling a stick of candy to a little child or you're selling a a car over the phone, or you're selling, some type of high-end software implementation. There's all sorts of sales that occur, billions of sales every single day. And the key that you have to figure out is you have to basically reverse engineer how that buyer likes to buy, right? So you have to think about that and what makes sense for your business, and understanding that it's not going to be, there's no like any of the gurus here. And this is what I love about this Throwdown, is like you're each advocating for a point tactic, and any sales effort is going to be a multitude of steps, systems, people, right, that move people and get them into the transformation that they want. So it's fun to talk about and debate here. Is there's a moment of transformation that occurs for that person when you influence them into their yes or their no, and then you determine that your service is a fit to help them walk into that transformation. And so, but so much of the value occurs in the sales conversation and them stepping through the journey to change their lives, to grow their business, to purchase something, to do something for themselves, and really love on themselves in a different way. The skill, mastering the skill set of sales, right? Because it is a skill set that anybody can learn and understand, is helping that person at a different level. Because when two people come together, right, there's a different level of support and service and transformation that's possible that those people can create without having that conversation. And that requires the salesperson to show up and be influential. And you talk about mindset, Scott, like if you're showing up needy, if you're putting the other person on the hook, if you don't understand where money comes from, if you don't love yourself, if you're not showing up in a giving, helpful energy, then you're not showing up in your power, confident, influential, and that person's going to feel that. Like we all feel the idea of the slimy salesperson, right? And the reason that double binding message gets set up, even if the words are perfect, is because that person hasn't done the internal work, and they're not in relationship with receiving, giving money themselves, that stranger or whatever. So mindset when it comes to sales is 90% of the work.
Before any of the sales process can start, and that is about internally changing our own mindset about money as a service provider.
I love that.
Or someone who's providing a product. And I was wondering if maybe, Christopher, if you wanted to speak to that a little bit.
So I'll give you like a really quick example. You need to first understand where money comes from, right? And what the truth about money actually is, right? And understand what your relationship is to money. So so many founders I talk to will be like, oh, my client's always asking me for a discount, right? And then when they go out to buy something, they're always asking for a discount. And they're also not investing in themselves. They're like, oh, when I make that next sale or win that big client, then I'll hire staff, I'll scale my operations. But energetically, it doesn't work like that. The media story is like you can only have what you need, right? Money doesn't grow on trees. It's a finite resource, and money's not a finite resource. And when you can start to realize that money coming into your business is a result of making decisions and having sound strategies and taking action aligned with what you're thinking and feeling in your body. Make sense?
Well, I'll tell you, as our friend John Lee Dumas says, as JLD says, just value bombs drop in here. And we're going to be determining whether it's digital or digital sales or sales calls.
As much as I love in-person sales, digital sales funnel, where there's a way for people to discover you or your business or your service, then they can be educated about that. You can build trust with them. They have the ability to make the purchase, and they have the ability to start using it or get something usable immediately, or the promise that it's coming. That system, that sales funnel system, is something that you can monitor every single piece of that process, and you can tweak each one so that you can iterate. You can make new versions of ads and see how they affect your click-through rates. You can make changes to your landing page copy and see how that affects your conversion rates. You can change colors and photos and tracking and targeting and all of the different things.
All right, so Holly's over there bobbing and weaving. She's taking the gloves off. She's coming in. She's going to see if she can deliver the knockout blow. Let's hear it, Holly.
Real quick before I get to my recap, one pro ninja tip I have based on what Chris was sharing around your relationship with money is imagine money as a person. Like there's an energy, there's an actual person, and write a letter to money about everything you think about money, good or bad, and then read it back to yourself. And that will tell you a lot about where you need to work on your relationship with money. It's very, very telling. And Chris is amazing. If you really are stuck on sales, Chris has personally gotten me unstuck in my business and things really turned around after that conversation. So if you really need help, he's amazing. You're welcome. Now, in terms of my recap, here are my two last points. The cost of doing a digital sales funnel is pretty high. You have to have that sales page and have somebody who's really good at writing sales copy build it. You have to know that right advertising. It takes some time to narrow in on getting the right leads for your product or your service. So there is an investment to digital sales. It's not like it just automatically happens overnight versus those sales conversations. You already know these people. They're already on your CRM, they're in your list, and all it takes is you picking up your phone and making a call every single morning. And that was one piece of advice that Chris gave me when I was stuck. He said, "How many sales calls are you having?" And I was like, "Not very many." And he said, "Okay, who are 10 people you could call?" And guess what? I picked up the phone and I started making these sales calls and working on that sales conversation. And I used to hate it and now I'm comfortable with it. And the reality is regardless if you have a digital funnel or not, you're going to have the sales conversation at different points throughout your business. So it is one of the most essential skills in your business that you must master because it's part of your life and it's always part of your business.
All of the equipment in an office, the heaviest, most immovable piece of equipment is the phone receiver. Digital sales or sales calls. Matthew, you're the winner. Digital sales. The first thing you got to do is make the product available to be purchased, put it on the web, put an add to cart button, get it out there, let people buy when it's convenient for them. To write all that, you're going to have to do some sales calls to learn all about that. So, but today, Matthew is the winner. Christopher, and let's hear your summation as well.
The final thought that I want to leave people with is when you're trying to set up a sales strategy or a sales system, make sure that you're setting it up in service of the buyer, right? So if you're setting up a digital funnel because you don't like sales calls, right, that's not going to get you very far. If you like doing sales, if you're doing sales calls because you don't know anything about digital funnels or ads, right, then you got to do the work on both sides. And the thing is, at some point, if you don't understand what sales is really about and you're out of relationship with money, other people, strangers, and uncomfortable, that's going to show up somewhere, whether it's on the phone or in your website in terms of long sales cycles, bad clients, underpricing. Like that's why doing the work to transform yourself and mastering sales is going to serve you in every area of your business, regardless of the tactics that you use to actually help people buy from you.
Christopher, thank you for joining us today on the Business Builder Throwdown. Follow Christopher, find him on LinkedIn. You will get great value.
If you took nothing away from today, get smart on sales, get really curious around your mindset with money. It will move mountains in your business.
Subscribe, like, hit the little bell button so you'll always get reminded, and have a fabulous day.
Your sales funnel is never hungover. It's never got a rash on its ass. It's always there, ready to sell every day.